Look at this perfect top. Isn't it so cute? I got it from Abercrombie & Fitch. Book review. We're reviewing today Butttt I by Colleen Hoover, okay? First half of this video is going to be spoiler free. Second half, we're going to get into the nitty gritty details, and I'm going to spoil everything under the sun about this book. So if you haven't read this book, you can watch the first half, watch the second half at your own risk. Let's get into it. Let me put the back of the book up for a second so you can read that if you want. This book follows Clara and Morgan. Clara is 17 and is Morgan's daughter. Morgan got pregnant at 17 by the boy she was dating at the time, and it follows them through navigating mother-daughter relationship with a very traumatic experience in the mix. Morgan got married to the boyfriend who got her pregnant, and so they kind of create this little family unit. Destruction strikes, obviously, and we kind of get to read about what they do, what they don't do, what happens with them as a family unit. It was interesting to say the least. 10 out of 10 for drama for sure. Okay, this book is nothing short of dramatic. There was never a shortage of what the hell just happened, you know? Now, I would give it a 6 out of 10 in regards to credibility. I don't read books expecting things to be believable or real because it's a book. How do I say this without spoiling anything? A lot of the characters in this book, one in particular, is so impossible to ever happen, the way that this character acts and the way that they do things, that it was very distracting, and it was kind of hard to digest the storyline because this character's character was so, like, impossible. Like, that would never happen, ever. I was kind of just like, this is just dumb. I didn't hate it, but I did give it a 2 out of 5 stars because it's not a book that would ever jump out of me to recommend to anyone unless they came up to me and said, hey, I want a really dramatic book that has nothing but drama in it and almost is triggering. Then I would recommend it. But it's not something that I would just be like, oh, you know what's a good book? This one. Read it. Don't read it. Or read it. I don't know. This book definitely wasn't what I was expecting. A lot more family psychology involved in the storyline, a lot more triggers, a lot more situations that I kind of wish I never had read about. It was like not something I'd recommend. Here are the trigger warnings for this book. Let's get into the spoiler version of this review because that's why we're really here. The character I was referring to that is extremely impossible to ever be that way is Miller. The way that Colleen Hoover wrote him to be impossibly emotionally mature was so distracting from the actual storyline. There's literally no way this would ever happen. He is a boy. He is a high school senior. He grew up without parents. You really think that anyone in that position, other than God himself, would ever be as emotionally mature, as intelligent, as understanding, as caring, as patient as Miller was? No. He was the textbook definition of emotionally healthy, and it was extremely unconvincing. I get the idea of reading about book boyfriends and kind of making your ideal boy when you write a book, but it was so impossible. There was no way that I was gonna enjoy that type of character. It was bad. It was bad. Poor guy was the only one with common sense in the whole story, in the whole universe. Also, Morgan was the most infuriating character. Everything she did, I hated. Every time she abused Clara emotionally or verbally, I wanted to punt her. She was horrible to Clara and acted so selfishly the whole book. Like, I get it, okay. Destruction struck for sure. And RIP to that guy and that girl, which actually, not RIP. I hate them. You're a mom. Like, your kid always comes first no matter what. And you're gonna act selfishly in your personal life, which she did, but get a grip, sister. I couldn't stand how she was parenting Clara. Worst mom ever award. Jesus, it was insufferable. Should I take this? Hey, can I call you back in 5 minutes? Clara, on the other hand, had a very good head on her shoulders in comparison to Morgan, and although it was more believable than Miller's emotional maturity situation, there were some points where I was just like, there's no way a senior in high school would be thinking this way. You could tell Colleen Hoover was a little bit out of touch with how teenagers think and feel, and even if they're the most mature high school senior, they're still very immature. I would have liked to see a little bit more immaturity from her to make it more believable. Again, when things aren't believable in a reasonable sense, it's hard for me to digest the story, it's hard for me to digest the characters. It makes me kind of just pause every so often, roll my eyes, because I'm like, If we're reading about fantasy book, whatever, then whatever, it's free-for-all, it's fantasy. But because this book was written to be and feel like a real story, she messed up in that regard, in my opinion. Morgan's grudge to hate Miller was so agitating. It got old so fast. Are you a petty high schooler? Because what are you talking about? Just because her cheating ugly husband said that his dad was a bad apple, you're holding this grudge forever? Literally until the last 2-3 chapters of the book? Can you not see your daughter's happy and he's actually super chill? Get over it. Also, I might be nosy, okay? But what? Girl. You get rid of like this evidence that can help you move on, help you heal. You have no idea now what went on. And not just you, Jonah, your daughter. Like, she might want answers in the future. He might want answers. You might want answers. You ripped those up and you didn't even read them. And not only that, but you didn't let me read them. It was upsetting. And I'm not satisfied. Also, Morgan and Jonah went from being awkward with each other, kissing once, and then I love you so much, and you love me, and I know it, and we're banging. Like, I get it. You have a past, you were in love in high school without even knowing it, and now you have this opportunity, but going from kissing to I love you in 0.4 seconds when you're a grown adult seems very unsettling and almost red flag to me. I also understand the fact that they needed comfort. I don't know. Maybe it's because I cringed and it felt tacky to me, but it felt like when you're in middle school and you get your first boyfriend and you're so hungry to tell them I love you and hear it back. So any chance you get, you kind of try and slip it in and then they say it back and you're just like, that is so satisfying even though it holds no depth. That's what it felt like. I did want them to be together. I thought that that was going to be the best case scenario in the situation and I was rooting them on. It was just... Final thoughts. The resolution at the end of this book seemed too seamless to be believable, in my opinion. From one second to another, I hate you, you're the worst mom ever, I can't stand you as my child right now, to holding hands at the movie theater, best friends, whatever. But it's their story, not mine. I just think that it did cause me to just be like, I am relieved that Clara did end up with some sympathy for her mom because I didn't like that she was like literally thinking that her and Jonah were having an affair. So I'm relieved that she kind of at the end was like, oh my gosh, like my mom's the victim. Like, okay, good. I'm glad that she figured that out and that they were able to talk about it. That was really satisfying because I didn't want Morgan to be the bad guy. I didn't want that. I wanted them to have a full connection as mother and daughter, even though Morgan was insufferable for like 4/5 of the book. I'm happy with the resolution. I'm glad it happened. It just happened a little bit too... Also super relieved that Clara found out about the whole thing, about the whole cheating thing and her dad being a scumbag and Morgan's sister being even worse. Relieved that the book ended the way it did. Happy, you know, bow on top kind of feeling. It wasn't enough for me to fully enjoy the book, so that's why I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Okay, thanks for watching. I don't have anything else to say other than the fact that now I'm reading Never Never by Colleen Hoover. I will put up a book review about that book as well once I'm done. I like doing these, they're fun, they're quick, and it allows me to talk about the book I just read. So let me know your thoughts on this book if you've read it. If you haven't read it, will you read it?